Hello and welcome. I am Jennie Wallach. I am here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm super excited to hang out with you guys today and share on one of my most favorite topics of all time, the GPS. Now, I know it sounds kind of corny. You're like, why are you such a weirdo? Well, the truth is that when I found that I could apply some of these tools or models or systems into my life became more focused and purposeful and actually joyful. And so I like sharing the message and passing it on to you. And so hopefully you could apply some of these same little tactics and tools into your life and your business. So thanks for joining me. I see your faces, those are that are here live, and otherwise you'll get the recording later. And if you're watching later, hello to you. So I'm going to share my screen. Again, everything you see today, you will have access to. So never fear, you will get copies of everything. And let's get going here. So I'm going to open up my beautiful slide presentation that Shy helps make pretty for us. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make sure I can see you guys because that is more fun, like I said. Okay, here we go. So chart your path, create an impactful GPS. See, I am a person that knows that we have a lot of tools to make our lives and our businesses better. And I always was knowing they were there, but not really knowing how to properly use them. So originally, when I started putting together this class, really for myself, it's just my mind map of how I work through all these different tools and pull them in together to make sense for myself. I was really asking the question, and with my business coach, even asking the question is, how can I make an important, a purposeful and productive GPS so that I'm not just doing it to do it because someone told me I should do it or that I was held accountable to do it, that I actually find passion inside of it because it's pointing me in the direction of my dreams. So that's where all the things that I'm going to share today come from, is just my journey through the GPS and these tools. So this is what we're going to talk about today. This is a great quote that I heard. It was really around kind of the goal setting time of year. We all know that it's important to set goals. Some of us set them and we're not really attached to them or have a relationship with them, so they just kind of fade away. But if you stay in relationship with those goals and you continue to keep revisiting, like with what we're going to talk about today, then maybe you will have a passion for staying in relationship with them because, again, you'll see the positive results in the end. So Gary Keller was quoted to say, and I can't remember where I found him say this quote. It might have been on a Facebook post of some kind, but he said that it's not like every time we're setting and thinking about our goals, it's not what are my goals for this year? It's where am I on the path to my end goal? Well, the truth and reality is that we're not living forever. We have this finite I can't even use the word, a very small amount of time here on this earth that we want to make sure that it's done at the highest level and having joy inside of our life. So, where are you on the journey? So, that got me on this thinking path. Now, I'm a quantum leap instructor and I love sharing this mission statement exercise. Many of you know me, so you've hung out in my world to hear that I'm going to always make you first think about why you're doing this business. And that's really what this slide is all about. We're just talking about the importance of understanding that you need some form of a why, some direction, some path of knowing that you're going in the direction of your dreams, like I said. So your mission is your compass. Your compass points you in the direction of what matters most to you, to your in your life, with your family, with those you care about most, for you. This isn't someone else's dreams. But knowing your mission ensures that you're appropriate in the moment. This helps me filter through what I say yes to and what I say no to. See, what I found is lots of us are people pleasers. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm really over it now. Maybe it's with age or experience because I just know that it's better to tell the truth to someone from the start that, whenever I've said yes to volunteering for something or signing up to chair an event, I've found that I end up dropping the ball. And I know that about me because it's not in alignment with my mission. Yes, I want to be a good human and give back to my community. So maybe I can do it at a lesser leadership level because of all the other hats that I know I'm already wearing. So if you'll notice, though, high achievers tend to be working for a big why. They have a reason for this focus in their life. Now, I've had the years of the breakdown, of the struggles where I was grinding it and working day in, day out in the evenings, on the weekends, and really grinding it and got to a point of burnout. The burnout comes because you don't know why you're doing what you're doing and working so hard for, and there's no passion or purpose behind it. Maybe you need to pay the bills. Yes, that's very important, but what's even more important and larger than that? So I'm going to run you through this quick mission statement exercise because I do always want you to start with this. Lots of you know me and know this is always one of the things I'm going to make you think about. And even if you've done it before, you might find a new idea that pops into your mind or a new passion that has just come up that you didn't realize. Now, there is a difference though, before we get started. There's a goal and there's a mission. And a lot of us might get those two confused. But see, the goal is just something that you check off that you've accomplished. Now, you can have goals along the way to living your mission in life, your purpose. It's always in progress. So that's the difference whenever we're thinking about this. Now, a lot of us, because many of us are in the real estate industry, realtors, we tend to think about a mission statement as your business mission statement. Yes, it's important to have a business mission statement, but that's not the conversation for today. Today, our conversation is about you, your personal mission in life. This will become your mantra and what pumps you up every day and gets you out of bed because you're living this mission every day. And then your business gets to fit inside of it. So let's dive into this first mission statement exercise. So, with the mission statement exercise, step one is you're going to identify what you feel connected to. Now take a minute. I'll let you have a little bit of writing and thinking time just on your workbook or in your notebook. Just write down what topics are you drawn to? Who or what is most important to you? What causes are you most passionate about? And what impact do you desire to have on others in the world, in this lifetime? So take one sec there and just do a little bit of brain dumping, as we like to say. And of course, since this is recorded and you're going to get this workbook and you're going to get all the resources, please come back to this. This can be a time block, which we'll talk about later, that you can make sure that you come back to. So step two then of our mission statement exercise would then be to uncover your unique gifts. You are already great at stuff. You already have talents that come naturally to you. They fire you up. They fuel you. What comes easy? Yesterday, I got to teach a class a couple hours away here in Oklahoma. And when I was done, I was exhausted because I gave it my all and I was so fired up. And I was like, this is it. This is what I love to do. It fires me up and gets me out of bed excited that I get to connect and share with my agent friends like you. So if there is something is there something that you would do even if you weren't paid to do it? That's what this is for me. I love teaching and sharing and did it for many, many years without any form of compensation, truly because I am so passionate about it. Now, lastly, if your creator came to you in a dream and told you you were put on this earth for this purpose, what would they say? So write that down real quick. Now, how this folds together is really an equation. We have the responses that you had from step one, added together to step two to fit into some kind of a sentence or a paragraph. Um, it allows you to think about the mission for my life is to do the thing that you have passion for, do it or be a part of it. And then you're going to implement or add or do with the the answer to step two, which was your natural gift, your talent. And so, how does that sound for you? Today, it could be really messy. If you hadn't thought about this yet, you really might need to come back and spend some time through it. I love sharing it with my family and my friends because sometimes they see things in me that I don't even see in myself. So maybe that's a place that you need to go. Well, after many years of the mission statement exercise in my own life, I have many, many variations that are in the note section of my phone. And this is the most recent. It's always changing, by the way. So you might get a little bit more specific with your phrasing or your words, or even a little bit more dialed down, because mine has been a little bit larger and wordier. But now I just feel very passionate about that it is my mission to empower others to believe in their possibilities, to tap into their potential, and to start living their purpose in their lives today. Don't wait. We may not have the time that we think we do. And then how I get to do that, how I get to live my mission is through teaching and speaking and just sharing all the lessons that I've learned. So I don't know if you know me, maybe you don't know me very well, but would you say that's kind of in alignment with what you would guess would be my mission? I hope it is. Hope so. Now, for today's class, we're going to first get clear on who we are and what matters most to us. That's our mission statement. But we're a whole person, right? And so for creating this map of how we're going to succeed in life and business, I utilize this tool called the seven circles. This comes right from, once again, our favorite little The One Thing book. That's an amazing resource and tool for us to really think big in all these different areas, because sometimes we have to jog our memory to think about, I'm not just a business person. I'm not just a mom. I'm all these different things. And so play with this in whatever fashion you like. What it worked for me years ago when I really started investing in this way of thinking is I sat with myself in a closed space without distractions, and I had just seven pieces of paper. See, there's seven circles here. And at the top of each piece of paper, I wrote down my spiritual life. On the next piece of paper, I wrote down my physical health. Now we just say health in general because it's also our mental health as well, right? And then my personal life, my key relationships. And what I did was I did this next exercise. It's called goal setting to the now. Now, it doesn't have to be an official full-on process, but it needs to be thinking of your life in the future, of what you desire for it to look like, and then chunking it back down to today. So you'll see here things that are underlined are going to be real live links to my personal Google Drive. And so with that, you will see that I have this document. It is what we call a goal setting to the now template. So when you get this, you'll just make a copy, you'll save it to your own documents, and you can play with it. But if I'm going to think about my someday professional goals, and then I'm going to have my someday personal goals. Now, if we go back to our slide right here, can you see how about half and half of these are more personal categories and some are more professional, and some can overlap and be both. So that's what I'm talking about. I divided them up to see that these are my professional goals, these are my personal goals. And the whole idea with this exercise is that you're thinking really big into the future and bringing it back down to today, really small in bite-sized pieces, so that if you keep biting along the way, you're going to get to where you desire to be in the future. And I love saying it like this. It connects today with all of your tomorrows, both personally and professionally. So if I go back to this template for you guys to work through and play with, remember, whenever we think about this, this doesn't have to be super specific, doesn't have to be official. This just is what we call a brain dump, a place to think and put ideas onto paper. So where do you want to be 20 years from now? That's, can you believe 2045 is 20 years from now? So think to the future. Where do I want my business to be? My role inside of my business? Am I still a lead listing agent? Have I moved to a different role in my career? Where do I want to be financially in my business? And then you would also probably have a financial category in your personal life. If you go to your personal categories for goal setting to the now, maybe in my physical health, my fitness, my mental well-being, my spiritual life, key relationships, where do I want to be? And just write it down. It doesn't even have to be a specific goal. It could just be a journal entry of what you see your life being like in the future. Because then you would get more clear and detailed. Okay, so if this is what I really want 20 years from now, then I need to think more strategically now. So 5 years, what does that really mean? And then 1 year, what does it really mean specifically? And this specifically 1 year goal setting is what we're talking about today. But this is how you get prepped and primed to be able to do that. So, goal setting to the now, I just really explained it. You're thinking way ahead into the future, say 20 years from now. If you do the math, how old are you today? Plus 20 years. Ugh, what does that look like? How old are you really? And the ones that you love in your life, how old are they? What does life look like? And really think through it, getting all the way back down to clarity and focus for today. Now, this was an example. I love sharing this one. Now, a goal setting to the now exercise doesn't have to be super detailed. Again, it could just be dreaming. So this was one I came up with years ago, and I still think it's pretty valid because you can see how maybe you can relate. So my someday goal, when I'm envisioning myself 20 years from now, I want to still be strong and healthy and have my smarts about me. I want to be physically fit and active. I want to travel and have fun. And by then, I will hopefully be a grandmother if that's the path my daughter chooses to go. And that I want to be around for the future generations of my family members. And so, okay, if that's where I want to be 20 years from now, what do I need to be looking like 5 years from now? And so, okay, I need to have healthy habits. I need to feel good in my body with exercise and things like that. And then at one point years ago, I was crazy enough to run a marathon. And so that was a goal. Now, this is just a placeholder. You don't need to go run a marathon unless that's on your personal plan. But a marathon is a good placeholder for dreaming big, but you got to make a plan around how you're going to actually do it. So if my 1 year goal was to run a marathon, could I GPS what it takes for me to do that? So an example would be chunking down each of the steps that it takes to actually run a marathon. If you've done it, you know it takes focus and determination and a lot of stuff around it. So when I'm doing this goal setting to not exercise, I mean, if I just chunked it all the way down to today's goal and I want to run a marathon in a year, I should probably just start running. That's probably the first step, is just actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's just an example there. So we've goal set to the now. So we've dreamt really big. We got clear on our mission. Now we've dreamt really big to where we want to be someday. Well, now we got to get into action for today. So what is actually a GPS? Well, I tease because, if you're in a car, we have this technology these days. I don't know if you're as old as I am in real estate. Remember when we didn't have GPSs in our cars to sell real estate? We had maps that were out of date and we couldn't find the houses. Yeah. So today's world makes life a little bit easier when it comes to this stuff. But a GPS in your car on your phone just keeps you pointing in the right direction. If you make a wrong turn, it gets you back on the right track. Same thing with this tool. The idea is that you have a goal The big goal. Can you have more than one GPS? Heck yeah. I have multiple GPSs for different things in my life. I have multiple GPSs for personal categories like running a marathon, had a GPS. Throwing a birthday party for my daughter, had a GPS. Because all it is a tool to take what's up here and put it onto paper in an orderly fashion. And then you can categorize and reframe things to make sure that they're actually impactful and keep you on the right path. So the goal is a specific measurable item that keeps you focused. It's big enough. It requires multiple steps and processes to achieve it. Now, the priorities are, I'm reading a book called Essentialism right now, and it kind of jokes on the point of priority is actually really just one. So maybe you've heard this as well. So that we have three priorities or multiple priorities in life is funny, but that is the way of our world today. We have a lot of hats that we're wearing that are all important, maybe in different ways. So these three priorities are different categories of items that again are helping you achieve that big goal. So each priority should be powerful enough on its own that that goal could be achieved. But we've got three of them just in case. So I would still say put them in order of importance to make sure that that big goal is achieved. Now, the strategies, and I heard Gary Keller say this a couple years ago, and I'd never heard it before. I teach this and I live this. He called strategies steps. These are just steps that it takes for you inside of each priority to make sure that you achieve that goal. So let's keep going because we got to get through all these slides because you've seen these before, but these are just your reminders. Now, when we're talking about an annual plan, it needs to be smart. Even my high school daughter knows about SMART goals. And whenever she's been taught to set goals, she knows they have to be specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound. So whatever goal that you come up with, just run through this list and see where you might be missing some of these important pieces of it. So you understand, we're going to identify the goal, we're going to establish the priorities, and then we're going to determine the strategies. Now, I love just going right into examples because you guys have taken the classes, you've read the books, you understand what a GPS is. But what helped me was creating and sharing an example that then you could rip off and duplicate, or you could adapt and amend to your own business. So I heard this a long time ago in the Bold Room. It's a training class we have at our company. And the Bold coach mentioned, hey, what if your business priorities were based on leads, listings, and leverage? And if you know, like you should know, that comes right from our real estate Bible, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And so in our real estate Bible, we know that we must have leads in order to be able to take listings, buyer and seller listings, and then eventually we'll need leverage in order to keep that business moving along and moving forward. But things really do first start with leads. We have to have people to help, or what's the point? So another way that so if just imagine that's what your GPS was built on, and I'm going to share some examples with you of of uh, of us actually doing that here on our team in Tulsa. But first, I then discovered like, wait, what if I utilize the economic model, which again comes right from our MREA book, the economic model that allows us to see how much money we need to earn in order to achieve the net number of what we need to make each year. And so that's where I go a little deep into this, but hang on with me because this gets really fun. So this is a spreadsheet you guys will have in your folder. So in your folder, you guys will have this economic model. This is a live uh, spreadsheet, you will absolutely need to make a copy of your own and then play with it for yourself. So hopefully you can kind of see it. I've got, can everyone see my screen? Give me a thumbs up real quick if you can. You can see okay, perfect. So on this spreadsheet, things are editable. I wouldn't mess with too much, but think about it like this. So you could start with how much you need to make, or what I tended to always really build my business based on first the number of families that I was going to serve. Now, this is a whole nother day and a whole nother exercise of taking my current database to calculate what that should look like. But for us and for today's purposes, I just picked a number. So let's say you have an annual transaction goal of 50 families. That's great. And so you're going to do some math here, or the spreadsheet may be able to do it for you. Just be careful what you edit because some are already programmed. We know that on our team, our average commission that we earn is around $8,400 per closing because, and here I'm putting our average sales price is 300,000. Our average sales price is actually a little bit higher now, but I always like playing more conservative because you just never know. So if that's the case, I'm going to figure out how much that equals for all of the numbers that I need to know. Well, what's cool is when I put in our average sales price, our average percentage commission, like how much do you really get at the end of the day from the compensation that you're paid from the closing. And then maybe you have more buyers than you have sellers. You're going to calculate that out, and that's going to help you get to what your GCI goal would be. So if your GCI goal is 420,000, that's awesome. So it divides up based on, we've got our sellers on the left and our buyers on the right, and it's going to divide up what that looks like for each area. So I'm just going to let you kind of peruse here what it looks like. But it pulls it on down, pulls it all through. It tells me that if I have a goal of 50 families, then I need 23 sellers closed and 28 buyers closed based on my ratio, because I'm going to look back in the past. I'm going to have told this spreadsheet that I sell more buyers than I do sellers. And so that tells me then if I'm going to have 23 sellers closed, and I tell it that I'm really good. When I take a seller listing, it's going to close. I put in 90% return. So you might not have 90%. For every listing that you take, does it close? You can play with your own little percentages here. So you want to be as truthful as you can, but you can also just kind of use mine for now. But that tells me, oh, well, if that's how many sellers I want to close, well, I need to take 25 because there's fallout. And if my conversion from each appointment that I go on, 33 listing appointments, I'm going to highlight this to have another color because I'm finding that's important too. So I'm going to need 33 listing appointments because there's fallout. And then that means I need 51 high quality conversations to get me to these appointments to get me to that goal. Your numbers could be different. You want to play with it. And this is why tracking your numbers is so important. Another day, another conversation. But for our purposes today, why I was doing this was because I was pointing out that over here on the right, if you see what I've got, I'm just going to highlight it. Is this highlight? Nope. Go back. See, you can tell this is real time live. I'm going to highlight this because this tells me to get to my 50 closed, it rounds it up a little bit. I need to take 57 listings, buyer and seller listings, contracts to work together, but I need at least 117 good leads. These are really buying or really selling leads. These aren't just your past clients that you're calling to tell them happy home anniversary, right? These are real potential buyer or seller leads. So I'm telling you all this again for a reason, because it gives you clarity on what really matters and what you need to focus on. So why I share all that is because knowing those numbers I just highlighted can help you to then build your GPS for your business. Because we should just looked at that economic model right there. This is the same link to it. And if I line out everything I just went over with for you, like I just walked through that spreadsheet, here are the same numbers. And then I plug, these are the same numbers I just shared with you. I just was highlighting these right here. We then create what we call our locker combination. And we learned this from our coach years ago. So the locker combo, remember the little locker combinations, the old days? Do we still have those? I don't know. But you would turn it one way, turn it the other way, turn it the other way, and then your lock would open. You could get into your locker. So this locker combination is for your focus. So if we go back to that original spreadsheet and we zoomed in, this would be what is on there. It told me I needed to take seller listings and buyer, sorry, let me see. Okay, so I needed at least two, we're going to round up 2.1. And okay, we're going to have 2.1. We need to round up to 3 because you can't take a 2.1 listing. So I like to round up. And then on our buyer contracts taken each month, that's a buyer listing, buyer agreement. It's 2.7. So we got to round up. So that means our monthly locker combination from the economic model that tallied these numbers for us is each month, we just have to focus on taking 3 seller listings, 3 buyer listings, and get 5 under contract because there could be fallout that gets us to 4. See how we have 2 and 2 have closed. So that could be a little mind-blowing if you've never thought of your business this way. But now, for example, our team, we use it and our locker combination, it's 5, 7, it's 7 seller listings, 8 buyer listings, and 15 under contract to get to our 13 closed. It becomes this focus that you can tell right away if you're on or off goal. I know that's a lot to think about, but let's just keep going on through this and then I'll have some time for Q&A here. So if we think about it, then I'm going to ask myself, how will I generate 177 leads that came from the economic model spreadsheet to help 50 families? How will I take, serve, generate more listings to get to 57 to help 50 families this year? And then what leverage do I need? Do I need to upgrade? Do I need a new person to be able to help 50 families this year? These are all just questions you're asking yourself, and then you get to build the plan. I went ahead and plopped in some of our personal team things that we have in the past put on our GPS. So, yes, these should go way more detailed and specific, right? We want to make sure that's the case. But we want to also think through what are the different steps I'm going to take to generate enough leads. Well, I'm going to lead gen to my Met database. So I'm going to implement the Do the Database To system, where I'm going to talk to them at least quarterly. I'm going to invite my Met database and my VIPs to all of our client events. I'm going to have a reviews and referral process in place so that we make sure to generate more leads and referrals. Okay, so you guys get the idea because I can't read through every slide for today's timeline. Here's an example of how I will take or serve all these listings. I'm going to call around them. I'm going to market each property. Maybe I'll do door knocking, open houses. I'm going to do video online, all the walking tours and things like that. So you're going to think through and plop down all the different ways you're going to do that. And then if we're going to think about the leverage that I need, well, I need to know who I'm missing. Maybe within this year, we need to bring on more people to help out. I need to think about any technology that's needed or update some of our systems that are in place. Or maybe we're going to leverage in other ideas, like we add in a business to business networking event because business owners are leverage for us. It allows us to connect with more people, grow our database, and have more opportunities to help more people. So those are some examples there for you guys. Now remember, you get all of these to look through and understand later. Now this is where it gets a little out of control, and so don't get overwhelmed. But years ago, this was from 2022, we then took each of those strategies and went even deeper. So you could really use this for your whole business brain dump of everything you could do and what might need to be improved on or updated. So use this with caution, because sometimes I can't help myself and I just want to really get all the details down somewhere. And then we can go back to it and go, oh, wait, now we need to make sure that that's getting implemented or updated, or maybe it's not important anymore. But here's an example of an agent, actually an agent on our team, a GPS. Now, all of our agents this year, we sat them all down and we took the time for each of them. They set their own goal, 24 families served, and how they were going to do it. The priorities were theirs. They chose their priorities, but it needed to fit into the team priorities as well. So, for example, lead generate and manage time. Those are important. So, how are you going to do it? So, you can see here these strategies get very, very smart. They're very measurable, and they are metrics that you can see if you did it or if you didn't do it, because these help feed into the next tool for next month called the 411, where we're going to take all of this and put it into the 411 so that we make sure and nail our goals. Open house is a category, maybe it's community involvement. So when what I've shared with you before was like the business GPS, and then each person inside of the business has their own GPS that is a part of the business. So here's one thing, I've never shared this before. It's brand new. This is this year's GPS for me, for Jennie. Now, to protect the innocent, I have removed some of the details, but the first idea here is that I start my GPS with my mission. And then I really, over time, it's been too fluffy. So this year, I made my goal a dollar amount. I just had to for total clarity and focus. I just had to have it be something that I'm achieving that or I'm not. But how am I going to achieve that net number? So for me, this is me personally inside of my team. So if the team, if I'm helping the team achieve their goals, then my goals should be achieved as well, correct? So if our team goals are 150 families at this volume, at this GCI, then I get a distribution and a salary as owner, and then this helps me earn the income that allows me to be on track with my goals. Now I'm going to have personal, purposeful one-on-ones with my team. I'm going to lead generate personally. I'm going to continue to educate our database and our community. I have agent outreach on my GPS, community outreach. This is where I go out and I promote. So you can just see that I have a lot of tasks, and some of these can be leveraged, of course, and some are just reminders for me. If I'm time blocked purposefully based on this, then I'm living the dream. I'm living in alignment with my mission, which I've already shared with you guys is what matters most to me. And so then the other priority is teaching. I love to teach. So I talk about the different buckets of ways that I get to teach and how I get to earn income from doing that as well. And then I have a wealth category of a priority as well. And I actually have four priorities because I knew that I needed to add in my personal priorities, which are to travel, and I love to learn and earn, and for leisure with my family. I love to connect with family and friends. So it's just my reminder. Do I have any lunch or dinner dates set up with friends? Do I have coffee dates on the calendar? Because that's my goal for the year. Am I making sure to work out at least 5 times a week? And I measure what workouts count and what don't. I need to add pickleball to this because it's definitely on the list. But then I did add this one last thing, and this is just something that you can kind of ask yourself. This is on my calendar on Sundays, and it's questions that I ask myself every Sunday to plan ahead. Well, it's all in relation to all of these priorities. And it's at me asking, so what house am I going to tour today? Because I am in real estate and it's good for me to see properties, but also promote our listings or other properties and show that I'm in the business. What buyer or seller tip will I share this week? That's important. What agent tip will I share with my agent community? Maybe I'll interview someone locally, a local business, or I'll promote a local business and tag them, or a real estate agent with my agent success secrets. So this is just what I'm asking myself every Sunday because then it makes sure that I block out my calendar for success. All right, so that's a lot, and I just wanted to share with you. We really do this. We really use this. So the GPS I'm sharing with you, never shared before. We just had, this is my printed off version. We just had our quarterly review this Monday, and this is the agenda. I did delete some of the details because it's very personal in some situations, but I wanted just to give you an example of what our team GPS looks like. Our team GPS nowadays has 4 P's. No, yes, we have priority number one is our production. And so you guys can play with that and see how that lines up. Priority number two are people. We have to have people in our database. So tracking the number of Mets, our agent database, and then future team members in a database and our in-town agents. And so you can see the focus and what's been happening in that area. And then priority number three is delivering our promise and also allowing us to, so delivering our promise. So if we're doing what we say that we will do by, you know, delivering an amazing experience, then it should allow us to help more families, to generate more referrals, and to achieve all of our goals. So we can measure this by what we call the 4 E's in our business. This also was from Jordan Freed. So you don't, like, once you get all this, you don't have to reinvent it or recreate it. Now we just carry it over to each quarter and check back in. How am I doing? How am I doing? Am I on track for where I need to be? And so the last priority is we do have four. The last one is profit and philanthropy. Because the truth is that what's the point if we're not profitable? And so we have to make sure that we are. We can't give, which we love to give back. It's part of our team mission statement. We can't give if we didn't get. So we have to earn the income to be able to give. So these are just some examples and ways that we have given already this year and where we are on track for that. But then I asked the team to kind of reflect. So where are they in relation to their first quarter goals? I just wanted to give you guys more than enough that you can take away from this time together so you can have some examples, have some inspiration and motivation. Know that this is a lot and it's taken me a lot of years to work through my own thinking of what works for me and what doesn't. Of course, there's other methods for figuring this tool out, but for me, it's been a beautiful thing. So I have my GPS. Oh, where'd it go? I printed it out. And it's just on a spreadsheet inside of my computer that then also has a tab next to it for the 411 for each month of the year. That'll be next month. But you guys understand, in order for all of these things to happen, you have to time block. Because here's the deal. Either you run the day or the day runs you. And I like to be a little bit more purposeful and relaxed in my day so that I'm not in panic mode or stressing out. That's my goal every day. And so the way that I time block my calendar Now, this is from all these lessons I've learned from so many coaches over the years. I just take what I learn and I put it into action. But this plan for personal time blocking is a way to think about I'm going to take at least one day off a week. You guys, you got to make it happen. Could you take a 3-day weekend each month? Yes, lots of times we have just holidays built in the calendar that allows us to do that. And then could you be wild and crazy and take a 7-day vacation each quarter? Sometimes life gives us one, like it was spring break here in Tulsa last week. I was off work Saturday to Saturday. Did I just still do a little work? Of course, a little bit of work, but I was focused with family. And we got to keep remembering to block out our growth so we can keep learning and growing in our own personal life and in our business. Have a people plan. I like to block out times that I'm going to be with my team or team fun stuff, taking care of my mind and my body, and of course, doing the most important things. I really got purpose on page, and this is my reminder of wake up, think, plan, pray, exercise, eat, hug, kiss, laugh, plan and calendar, and lead generate. All before 11 a.m., it can all be done. And when you do these things so purposefully, it leads to success that you can absolutely go get a massage in the afternoon, like I'm going to go do in a few hours, because you've earned the right, because you did your job, because you showed up with your mindset right and your focus clear. Now, this is just going along with your time blocking. If you're a real estate agent, these should be your time blocks. 9 to 11 or 9 to 12, lead generate, lead follow up. Mine is 9 to 11 lead generate, and then 11 to 12 is lead follow up. That lead follow up is doing the things that you generated. Maybe you found a buyer that you need to set up a new search for, or you need to follow up with a lender about a pre-approval. These are the things that happen in the follow up of your lead generation. Then you block your day for appointments. If it's not a listing or a buyer appointment, maybe it's a coffee date or a connection with a business to business relationship. Now you got to negotiate contracts and you got to continue to practice and role play. So having those purposefully blocked into your day make you live a much calmer life, I'm telling you. Well, the next thing we do is we create the 411, but that's for another day. So I would totally blow your minds if we dove right into the 411 at this time. I'd love for you to come back and join me next month to talk about it. But in the meantime, let's just remember that action is the foundational key to all success. So Pablo Picasso tells us this, and the reminder is simple. You've learned all this good stuff today. Hopefully, you found that it was worth your time. And then now, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to apply it? Are you going to share it with your team? Are you going to tab it to come back and maybe time block it in some thinking time later this week? Another thing is you are so welcome to join me in your journey with me on my journey inside of my membership group. I have a monthly membership group where you get all of these classes, of course, for free because this one was for free, but then all my paid trainings for free, as well as a monthly call and other opportunities and ways to connect with me each month. So that's an opportunity for you as well. And then I do have a Facebook group if you're not in there yet. I'd love for you to join me. I like to share tips and tricks and tools and ideas and inspiration in there every single day. Of course, you know how to reach out to me. And my goal is, especially for my Momentum members that are here, it's really my goal that you use me, that you take the videos and the tools and the toolkits, the one pagers, and then you just use that into your own business. I don't want you wasting all the time that I took figuring some of this stuff out. That's the whole point, is that you can fast track your success. You don't have to struggle and cry the way I did. Well, I appreciate you guys. Have a great one. I'll see you later.